Howdy friends, and welcome to the November recap for the Cool Gaming Bros YouTube channel. I'm Eman, maker of the videos for this channel, and this video serves to be a discussion about videos and projects of this channel now into the future, and I'm expanding it just to be a monthly discussion about games and gaming. This is my only real interaction I get with you guys, since the only way I communicate with you guys is through YouTube comments, so this is like a direct path, right straight to you. Now, the best way to start this off is to show that I actually do read what you guys write to me, and I should start by discussing the most popular content on this channel, which is undeniably King Arthur's Gold and Warband, and why you don't see much of it. Now, I'll say this. I don't mean to disappoint you guys if you subscribe for that stuff, okay? But my channel's not all about that. Those are just really popular series for games we really enjoy. But the reason you don't see all that much content from those series nowadays is simply because I can't share what I don't have. And that's because I haven't seen Jeremy online for almost a month now. So it's hard to play my multiplayer series without my multiplayer bros. But it's not all bad. I will be making Warband content real soon. That one series I discussed a while ago that never came to fruition, well, it's getting worked on. And I am speaking none other about my Warband playthrough with the mod that I've now determined to be the one I'll be playing through is Gekkokujo. Gekkokujo? I don't know, it's some samurai mod. And I really like samurais. I love them a lot. I watch a lot of samurai movies, read a whole lot of samurai manga. So yeah, I want to be a samurai. And I'm going to be a samurai in Warband. I freed up my hard drive space, and after this video's done, I'm going to get to installing and playing that mod. You know, it really isn't that cold to be wearing this hat, but I cut my hair, and I did a hasty job this month, and it didn't come out too good. So that's why the silly hat's on the head. But anyway, on to more pertinent discussions. The current games on this channel, I think I'll go through them one by one and talk about them a little. First off, we have Rogue Legacy. This is a neat game. It's got issues though. Deep down, I don't love it. I like it. But nonetheless, I had a good time with it, and you will see the full adventure being uploaded to this channel for the next few days. Next we have The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Really great game. I just love going back to this all the time. And it plays marvelously, but it saddens me that it's kind of baby mode now. It's too easy. Or if it isn't too easy, it's absurdly hard simply because the game limits your item drops on hard. It just teeters too far from one edge to another. But it's still an improvement over the old Isaac, and I still like it, and I will still be making videos regularly of this, except I think I'm going to change my focus a little, and I'll release these a little less frequently, but still regularly, so I could put focus on other projects. I played a lot of Evolve when that was out, and it was great fun. You wouldn't know it from this channel's content, but I play a shitload of shooters, especially cooperative ones, so this game really tickled my fancy. It was great. Sadly, it's over. Maybe when it's on sale in the future, you'll see it come back, but I would love to play it again, and I encourage you to check it out if you think the game is a good fit for you. Tower of Guns. This is a hidden gem. Hidden in a Humble Bundle, but it's been out way before then. This is some real good Twitch shooting. If you like Painkiller, if you like old school Wolfenstein games, this game is simply marvelous. And the hug bots are fucking adorable. I'll probably be playing a few more rounds of this game, and I particularly like it because it's one of the few games in which I'm capable to deliver to you YouTube's much touted 60 FPS feature. I think it really benefits games with high motion like that. And I think it opens the door, at least in my mind, to playing like old school shooters like Painkiller or Wolfenstein. Heck, I even got the new Shadow Warrior game because it's of that vein. playing those games in 60 FPS, that'd be pretty awesome. If I could get them to record at a consistent 60. Risk of Rain! It got updated, and it got busted. That game was practically unplayable on patch 1.21, I think, where you couldn't gain XP. Yeah, they borked that pretty hard, but they fixed it, and it's still fun, and I finally beat it. So, since the single player is done in my mind, I might revisit that series with multiplayer episodes. Lately, I've been playing Risk of Rain late at night with a rude crew of dudes. I've found my favorite people to play this game with are the virgins on 4chan, because they are absolutely foul-mouthed but crazy. And if you get a server going and post a thread on there, you get like 8 people playing all at once, and it's zany, and I'll share a few adventures of that. Earth Defense Force, Insect Armageddon. EDF is among the best co-op game series you could ever play. They're budget games, they're terrible, but you love them regardless. Be video games. Earth Defense Force on PC, it's a poor imitation of the EDF formula, but it's still pretty good. So I got a few more episodes of that. We'll probably play that in the future if I ever corral the guys together, but we're definitely going to finish that at some point. Space Engineers showed a whole lot of promise. Brian in particularly really loves those type of games. And we'll snatch it up on a future sale, get Jeremy on board too. But as it stands, it had a lot of multiplayer desyncs and like network issues, and those are hard to ignore. So we kind of shove that over to the side until that game gets fixed, but it probably will. So we'd love to go back into space and be spacemen suffocating in our own spacesuits. An off mention here is Bit Trip Runner. Not the most popular content, but love the game. And I'll definitely play Bit Trip 2 at some point. Well, that sums up the current projects on the channel. What's been uploaded lately. Including the future of Gekko-Goju. Gekko-Kujo. That's how it is. Gekko-Kujo. That's how it sounds. But now I'd like to do a special segment because someone was kind enough to mention to me that, hey, Eman, you're about to hit 3,000 subscribers. Isn't that monumental? And it really is. It's quite humbling that many people like watching my content. Especially since, like, I kind of stopped advertising it since none of my playthroughs are really well received on any forums I post them on. So I kind of just exist on YouTube in my own niche in the hopes people will find me, and people have found me. And I thank you. In fact, I want to give you guys a little rundown of the process behind my video making in the hopes that it's helpful to those of you who want to make your own videos, since I've been on YouTube for 4 years now. And I kind of got a process going. So maybe a few of my pearls of wisdom will land somewhere and be of value to someone. So, to begin with, what do I record videos on? Here are the specs of my computer. Honestly, it don't matter too much, so long as it's powerful enough to play and record at whatever FPS you're aiming for. Ideally, a consistent 30. 60 FPS will probably be the future in a couple of years. So maybe you want to future-proof your rig. But right now, 30 FPS consistent on the games you want to play at a good graphics setting. And if you're able to record that with whatever technology you got, then you're good to go. My big recommendations on computer building is primarily on your hard drives, because that's very important in recording. Ideally, you want 2, 3 hard drives really if you get an SSD as your main boot drive. That's what I have. One SSD in which I boot my computer off of, because I restart it all the time, and restarts are like lickety-split on an SSD. So you got that one for your main apps, Photoshop, whatever you're going to use, Sony Vegas. Then you have your recording drive. I use a 1 terabyte, 7,200 RPM drive. It should be fast, I think, so it doesn't bottleneck your recording. And mine should probably be bigger, but this is where you put your raw video files, which take up quite a bit of space. Then you have a third drive, one in which you run your games off of and store them, but also the drive in which you take the raw footage and render it out for YouTube or whatever medium you're going to use. What the heck else? What else is out there? Live Leak? You don't want to put your videos there. But yeah, that's the most important. To have a drive in which you record separate from the drive in which you render. Because reading and writing to the same drive is going to wear it out, and it's going to slow everything down. You're going to gunk up the process. So, those are my specs, and that is my recommendations. As always, a powerful video card, plenty of RAM to get all that video editing done. Maybe mine's a bit excessive, but there you go. That's a baseline starting point for making videos. Now, the microphone is probably the most important thing you could buy. I own a Blue Yeti. I got it off Amazon while it was on sale, and it serves my purposes quite well. I can't ask for better from it, except when I don't mess with it like I just did. There we go. Oh, and that purple thing is a pop filter, because I think you're supposed to talk to mics like this close, but my setup, I got all this in the way, so whatever. You could make a pop filter with some basic supplies at Home Depot and wires. So, you got your mic, you got a good PC able to record and stuff. Now I'll get to the nitty-gritty of actually recording and editing videos. Here is a list of applications I use in almost every recording session. I use Total Recorder to capture the voices. I make each of my friends run their own separate Total Recorder program while they play to pick up their audio. Then they send it to me through mega.co, just an uploading site. You can do it different. Many people do. Most of the big name YouTubers don't even bother to record voices separately. By just you recording all audio on your computer, voices, game audio, all together. But I'm not a fan of that because you have less maneuverability when you're editing and less options in cleaning up the audio, which I think is essential. I also use Audacity, in which I clean that audio. I'm going to go into depth a little on my process for Audacity file cleaning, and I've heard a bit of advice that says you can just cut the middleman and record your audio directly in Audacity versus Total Recorder, but I like Total Recorder because it's easier for my bros to use. Then I have Virtual Audio Cable. This is a slightly complicated program. I will post a link to some tutorials on how to set it up and run it. But the purpose of Virtual Audio Cable is if you, like me, want to record your audio or your friends' audios separate from the game audio, you gotta somehow separate those things. So Virtual Audio Cable creates virtual little tunnels to send sound through, so you can create fake pathways for certain sounds to travel, so that the sounds you record with whatever recording program you use, I use Fraps, will only pick up the game audio and leave all that other stuff out, which is why they send me their audio files. It's a little complicated, the virtual audio tunneling program, and I don't really want to spend too much time on that. There are many other tutorials for getting that to work, and if you don't want to deal with the headache, then just don't follow my process at all. And in fact, I recommend it because mine is time-consuming and probably not the best. But anyway, as I mentioned, I record with Fraps. DxTory seems like the newest hotness and what all the cool kids use nowadays, but I used Fraps at the beginning, I use Fraps now, it still works for me. I ain't got a problem with it, so I don't change what's not broken. Finally, the most important part and the brilliance of video making is in your editing. And I use Sony Vegas to cut up and splice my videos and to add all these elements in there, along with sound effects and music. So those are the programs, that is what they do. And now I'm going to go a little in depth into two of the most important parts of the programs. Audacity audio cleaning, the proper way to go about it, and Sony Vegas video editing, or really what a project like mine looks like at the end of the day. So, let's go. Alright folk, we are in Audacity now to show you a little bit of the nitty-gritty here, and a few tips of mine that have helped me tremendously in my video editing that might help you out too. Now, this is a typical audio file of mine, this one being for Tower of Guns. And what you see here are my speech audio. There's a coin there. No! That is these bigger spikes. And then this tiny stuff, this riffraff, are noise. This is what you want to remove. I start all my audio cleaning by doing a noise removal. First, you target the noise, and right here I can visibly tell that all of this are just mouse clicks and keyboard presses. I click noise removal, get the noise profile. I don't really change any of the settings in it. So it got whatever I selected. Then I select the full file, and I click, well, for my purposes of testing, I don't want to do the full file, it'll take a while. But I click OK, remove that noise. It thinks for a while, and this is what you get. A cleaner, leaner audio file. Now, the ideal way to go about this is to get a good selection of all the noise that might occur, which could be your fan in the background combined with your mouse clicks and your keyboard presses. And the way I do that is I start a recording or end it in silence with me just playing the game and pressing buttons on a controller or whatever you might be. And I just play in silence without commentating so that I just have a good portion in which I can select noise and only noise. And that way it would get universally applied to the whole track. That is a pro tip that has saved me a lot of time. Now, as you can see though we did the noise removal, you can still see a whole lot of little segments that are still just mouse clicks. This is mostly because my keyboard is a ergonomic keyboard with one hell of a spacebar, so I still get a lot of this noise. Now, a proper noise removal with a really good noise profile of all the possible sounds you want to remove would help alleviate this, but ultimately you can't really get it all. The program isn't perfect, so what's left to do, and what I do, is I go through and manually silence all these noisy areas. I could tell after a while of doing this, you can tell what is noise and what isn't. So you just go around doing this. That's noise, I can tell this is noise. That's noise as well. This is noise, and I go through. This is probably the most tedious and my least favorite part of video editing. And I think it's okay, or now I've changed my opinion to think it's okay to leave some clicks and clacks in there because it sounds more organic, you know? Sounds like someone's actually playing a game. But not too many. Enough of them can be obtrusive, and as you can see, these really loud points are worth removing. This makes your job later on much easier. So, I'd recommend doing this. A lot of YouTubers don't, but go the extra mile and make a good product worth sharing, people. Nice and clean. Look at that. Okay, so after it's cleaned, then the second thing I apply to the track is I select it all, and I do this program called Compress Dynamics. This is a compressor which lowers highs and raises lows, so you get a consistent speech audio out. I especially am prone to fluctuations in my voice because I yell a lot, but this program fixes all that, or it just stabilizes it a little. Now, this does not come stock with Audacity. Audacity itself comes with its own compressor, but don't use that. That, like, truncates your voice, and it's way too rough on whatever setting that you can put it on. Compress Dynamics was made specifically by a guy who wanted to improve the compressor's algorithms on voice to make voice sound better, but still compressed. This is a wonderful effect that I added to Audacity, and I use it on every single project. Now, what settings do you put on here? Well, this is one of the things you gotta fine-tune and figure out what makes your voice really shine and how far you can get away with without causing any distortion, because you don't want any of that. But as a base template, I will tell you my settings that I use, and I'm going to do it on a segment a smaller segment, so it goes quicker. Effect, compress dynamics. I compress ratio 8:8. I set this at what it is. I like to raise the floor to remove clicks and clacks more, and also raise the lowest point at which audio will be deleted from the track. So anything at 10 decibels and below will not be compressed and just simply be removed. I set this kind of high, again, because I have a loud keyboard. You might not have to on yours. And then I set that to 8. And so I let it run. And this is what happens. Let's see before. I have this high right here. And I have, let's see some lows. This is kind of low. But then we redo it. And everything kind of gets normalized. As you can see, all the areas I didn't clean, all them clicks and clacks also grow. So that's why my method of silencing manually is so important, because no one wants to listen to this crap. But let's just see the difference. Again, you got to find a good compromise between compressing your voice and still making it sound fine. So let's listen to this. Awesome! I really was lacking jumps. We need a lot of them to defeat Mother. That is part of my strategy. Awesome! I really was lacking jumps. We need a lot of them to defeat Mother. That is part of my strategy. Yeah, and then we go to a really high point and see what it did for that. Whatever, we came out a winner. Whatever, we came out a winner. You see where slightly my voice breaks because it hits the higher threshold? Now, whatever, we came out a winner. It mitigated that a little. And it made the audio sound more consistent, so you don't gotta raise and lower parts manually. This is what I do for my audio files. Some are more intensive than others, because more needs to be silenced than others, but this I recommend you do to all of your audio to make it sound nice and professional. Alright, what you see before you here is a typical finished and edited video ready to be rendered and uploaded to YouTube in my preferred video editing program, Sony Vegas. Now, I'm not going to go in depth in explaining how to use Sony Vegas. I hope you have enough gumption to fire up the program and learn how to use it yourself, because that's the best way. But I will give you some helpful advice of things I've learned to do in here that help in video making. First, when I make a project, I always begin by creating all these different tracks in which to lay all my media on. I make a habit of labeling them early so that it improves workflow when you know where everything's got to go. So a finished project usually has this many tracks. One for the text, another for secondary text or like overlays of footage, like in the credits sequence where you can click here to see the next video. You just put that in there in its own track. We have the game footage, game sound effects, my audio, my friend's audio, and then I usually dedicate 2 tracks, one high and low, for sound effects. There are many royalty-free websites out there just for sound effects that'll help you spruce up your video, and I encourage you to use them. They add a whole lot to the experience. And of course, musics, which can also be found royalty-free in a bunch of places. So, now, when I begin a program, I drop whatever media in the track I got. And for instance, let's pretend we're starting a new program or a new video, and I drop in the media, which is a full block of footage. This is a Space Engineers project, but I deleted the footage, so I'm using warband footage to substitute. But one important tip right off the bat is that Sony Vegas likes to resample your footage. And by that I mean it tries to add in frames between motion to make things look smoother, but in the end it just creates ghosting and artifacts and it makes things janky. So what you should always do is right-click the footage media, go down to switches, and disable Sony Vegas' resample. That'll do a ton to making your videos more watchable. That I recommend full-heartedly. Second, I look at the footage in my preview monitor, which is on a separate screen right now, and I look how it looks, and then I go over here and I apply some light video effects. Now, these are usually my go-to effects, though I have presets for almost every game I do, because you got to judge each one by eye to make sure it looks nice. There's no like universal standard here, but a good rule of thumb is to give it a little bit more. Oh, this one's crap. I've used a whole lot of bad settings here. Let me go to my Dark Souls settings. This is what I usually use. I start with levels. This increases the gamma. That usually is the case in games where things are way too dark, and YouTube likes to darken things. So I use levels to increase the gamma. Since everything is brightened, I then adjust the saturation so the colors come out better. Then when that's all done, I give it a little brightness and contrast just to the screen itself. And then some games need it, just a light touch of sharpening. I don't sharpen 2D games anymore because I found that it makes the edges look weird, but I don't know, to each their own. That is usually what I add to a video, some combination of those things thereof, and it really makes the finished product look a whole lot better. So, we did the basics. Now, how do we get all this? Well, then we add, let's pretend that I'm adding my audio here, and this block of audio will represent my audio. And we're just gonna copy paste it and pretend this is my friend's audio. Now, a tip here is, how do I align my video footage with the audio so that they coincide? Now, you could kind of feel out when an event happens and when you commentate it, but I've learned through experience the best way to line things up correctly is to create an audio cue within your own audio file that corresponds with the beginning of your recording process when you hit the record button. So, for instance, let's say this is my audio file, and right here is my audio cue. I use a clap, but you can use any audio cue to help you. Then, since I know this right here, this wavelength corresponds with when the video begins recording, or the actual footage, then I just drag the footage right there till it kind of corresponds, give or take a few milliseconds. In the grand scheme of things, it don't matter. And then, everything else should be perfectly aligned. And from then on, I just kind of, my friends don't do this, but then I use my audio as a barometer, and I kind of gauge where they talk and where I respond. And then, there you go. You got a working template here to begin your video editing. Now, as for the video editing itself, well, that's up to you. But here is my finished Space Engineers project, and you can see there's a whole lot of cuts. Because Space Engineers is a really open-ended game, and it's hard to tell a convincing and engaging narrative when you're just falafeling about everywhere. So this project required a number of cuts. Something like a roguelite probably doesn't require as much cuts since the whole experience is kind of contained within the gameplay. But to each their own. I just recommend you make something that is watchable to you. Like, watch your own footage. Look through it. See if it entertains you. If certain parts don't, cut them out. And also down here you can see that I've added a lot of sound effects, music, anything you can to present your vision for your video that much clearer. Well, we went in depth there for a bit to show you guys some of the nitty-gritty on the video making process. Hopefully those of you who want to tell your own stories online learn something from it. Now, my process, as you can see, it's rather time-consuming. And until I learned how to streamline it a little, it was probably the biggest factor impeding video releases on this channel. So, you've got the technology to record, you've got video and audio mixed together in a program you're comfortable using, so how do you get people to watch the things you make? Well, the secret really isn't that special. I spoke with a bigger YouTuber than I, and he imparted onto me these words of wisdom. And the secret to YouTube success is really just to make unique, entertaining content on a consistent basis for niche titles in an emerging market, especially indie games that are new releases. This is the best way to get a following started on YouTube because it's a rat race out there of Let's Players and content creators, And the best way for anyone fledgling to get a start is to reduce the competition. And who are you competing with on indie titles no one gives a fuck about except the people who play them? The thing is, you gotta target smart indie titles that you know might get, a bit of popularity, and you gotta get there quick. But I didn't like this advice, honestly. I mean, if you want to gain fame on YouTube, that's the path to go. But I don't really adhere to that advice at all. I don't release things at a regular schedule. I don't play modern games. I just kind of play what I feel like, and I share it. See, I don't seek fame and fortune on YouTube so much as I seek a creative outlet for my passion that's gaming. Like, I like to tell stories. I love games, and I think I'm pretty good at playing most of them. So that's where this channel was born, and that's why it still exists. And yeah, hopefully that advice helps some of you. I kind of digressed from the original purpose of this video, but what the fuck are the purpose of these videos anyway? Just to talk, I guess. Talk about things that are pertinent to the channel. So thank you guys for being that audience, that receptive audience who watch the things I create. It's because of you guys I'm still here, making videos and sharing them. I've noticed through my YouTube stats that only I'm privy to, that I've lost and gained a whole bunch of people through the years, and that's probably because my gaming tastes have changed since I've changed. And, well, I'm not sure what I'll be broadcasting months from now, but pretty sure it'll be video games, and video games I really enjoy. And I hope you'll be there, enjoying them too. So, if you want to help me out, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep thumbing up the videos that you like, in the hopes that others will stumble upon them and enjoy them too. And drop a comment here and then. You'd be surprised how far a few words of encouragement go in this hobby. They go a long ways. And if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty, I am setting up a donation link in the description to help me devote more time into this hobby and to just make more content. The honest truth is, on my 4 years of YouTube, I have made but a pittance. But that's fine, because I've gained so much more. But I'd like to keep going, and I like to play newer games and fix some things on my computer, and all that requires funds. Now, if you did donate, I hope you know it doesn't go to some nebulous cause that's like crack and whores. It'd go to concrete things, like, for instance, getting my bros better mics. It's a headache to fix their audio and try to make it hearable. They don't care about YouTube, but I care about making them more listenable. I would also get a new hard drive. That's what I've been looking for, because I want to, or I could be able to record multiple projects at once versus just kind of uploading the last thing I played. I don't got enough hard drive space to do that. And other things like funding new games, a mic stand for this thing so I don't have all those clicks and clacks in the audio. Things like that. That's what your money would go towards helping me do. But anyway, enough groveling. Donate if you have the heart to. But now I'm going to end this video with my musical recommendation for the month. As you might know, I like music almost as much as I like video games. That's why I stick so much music in my videos. And this month is another feel-good month with I'm From Barcelona, a Swedish band comprised of 21 members at least. That's pretty incredible, and they all play all sorts of stuff. They got kazoos, guitars, accordions, saxophones, clarinets. I think they got one person per instrument practically. And then others that are just background singers. But what they make is really catchy pop music that warms the heart. I like to believe that there's like a core part of the band that really focuses on making music, but he has so many friends that he just wants to invite them to be part of his band, and that makes them all the more amazing. They write simple lyrics to their songs, some of them just being like true refrains repeated the whole way through, but that's what makes them like one of the best sing-along bands I've heard in a while. But if you want to hear some wonderful, wonderful and whimsical music, please check them out, and have yourself a wonderful day.
I'm just a painter, I do to my crappy yard, but I see what's in your eyes and I know what's in your heart.